Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers displaying firearms, professionalism, and identifications, and is brought to us by Fanta's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On May 31st, 2013, plainclothes officer Robert Dubois of the Bergen County Sheriff's Office stopped a minivan on the New Jersey Turnpike in Leonia, New Jersey. While he was conducting the stop, an unidentified trooper from the New Jersey State Police noticed the situation and also stopped his cruiser on the side of the road. The interaction that followed was recorded on the state trooper's dash cam.
Blue Dodge Caravan. You! I want to see ID from you. From you. Right in there. Bergen County Police. Alright. Right there. Don't do that shit, brother. Mouth, I'll do it if I want to. I want picture ID. You better have a good reason why you're whipping your weapon on me. I do. Alright? I do. You got what? Armed robbery. Police impersonation. I see what you got. Back up. No, you're not going to tell me to leave here. This is my spot right here. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
The state trooper draws his handgun and approaches Officer Dubois, later claiming he had unholstered his firearm because of a series of recent armed robbery carjackings where the suspects impersonated police officers. According to the New Jersey Attorney General's use of force policy for the year 2000, which appears to have been in place at the time of the incident, quote, "A law enforcement officer shall not unholster or exhibit a firearm except under any of the following circumstances: for maintenance of the firearm, to secure the firearm, during training exercises, practice, or qualification with the firearm, when circumstances create a reasonable belief that it may be necessary for the officer to use the firearm, when circumstances create a reasonable belief that display of a firearm as an element of constructive authority helps establish or maintain control in a potentially dangerous situation in an effort to discourage resistance and ensure officer safety." As the policy also explains, quote, "Constructive authority does not involve actual physical contact with the subject, but involves the use of the law enforcement officer's authority to exert control over a subject." Examples include verbal commands, gestures, warnings, and unholstering a weapon. Pointing a firearm at a subject is an element of constructive authority to be used only in appropriate situations. The current version of the New Jersey Attorney General's use of force policy, which was published in April 2022, includes a very similar definition of constructive authority, but clarifies that, quote, "Constructive authority is not considered a use of force because it does not involve physical contact with the subject." The updated policy also includes revised rules for when an officer can display a firearm, stating that, quote, "Unholstering or pointing a firearm are tactics that should be used with great caution. The presence of an officer's firearm, under the right circumstances, can discourage resistance and ensure officer safety in potentially dangerous situations without the need to resort to force. At the same time, however, unnecessarily or prematurely drawing a firearm could limit an officer's options in controlling a situation, could create greater anxiety on the part of citizens, and may result in an unwarranted or accidental discharge of the firearm." The current policy also clarifies that, quote, "Officers may point a firearm at a person only when circumstances create a reasonable belief that it may be necessary for the officer to use deadly force. When the officer no longer reasonably believes that deadly force may be necessary, the officer shall, as soon as practicable, secure or holster the firearm." Due to the lower quality of the dashcam footage available, it is unclear whether the state trooper simply unholstered his weapon or pointed it at Officer Dubois. But, based on their conversation, it seems most likely that the trooper merely drew his firearm without pointing it. It is highly probable that a trooper unholstering his weapon when approaching the scene of a potential armed robbery would be found reasonable under both the prior and current versions of the use of force policy. And while it is less likely that pointing the firearm would be considered to be in line with the new policy, there is at least an argument to be made that the trooper had a reasonable belief that it could be necessary for him to use deadly force under the circumstances.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Nah, you don't. Apparently you don't. Eyes front. Why are you looking at me? Come to the front for a minute. That's what we got. here. I will why you mother. Get out of my face. Get out of my Get out of here. You know what's going on out here. You know what's going on out here. You know what's going on out here. You don't know what your hands up there. You don't know my hands in your face. I want you out here. I want you out here. You don't know what's going on out here. You don't know what goes on out here. You fucking rules. Fucking rules. Fuck out of here. You know what? You don't know what goes on out here. You don't know what goes on out here. Don't give me a chance. Don't fly to your boss. Tell your boss to call me. George Escobar. No, all right, Escobar. Bro, you don't want to hear the story. You don't want to hear the story, bro. Out of here. You don't want to hear the story. Yeah, costume. Go yourself. Costume out of here. Yeah, all right.
Sergeant Gabriel Escobar arrives at the stop, and although it is difficult to determine who's saying what on the dashcam footage, all three officers appear to scream profanities at each other for an extended period of time. While neither the New Jersey State Police Department nor the Bergen County Sheriff's Office has made their professionalism policies publicly available, the state police's mission statement notes that, quote, "The New Jersey State Police is committed to protect, preserve, and safeguard the constitutional and civil rights of all citizens through impartial and courteous law enforcement with integrity and professionalism. We shall ensure public safety and provide quality service in partnership with our communities." Likewise, the Values section of the Bergen County Sheriff's Office's website states that, quote, "The Bergen County Sheriff's Office commits to achieving our vision and mission by exhibiting professional and community leadership," and includes in the department's values both, quote, "respect, treating all people with consideration, dignity, and fairness," and professionalism, dedicated to providing superior service through innovation, collaboration, and partnerships. Similarly, Rule 4.10.1 of the New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice Model Rules and Regulations requires that, quote, "Employees shall be courteous and orderly in their dealings with the public. They shall perform their duties politely, avoiding profane language, and shall always remain calm regardless of provocation." Although this rule is specifically aimed at dealings with the public rather than with other law enforcement agencies, and the actual policies of the departments involved are not publicly available, it seems a safe assumption that screaming profanities at an officer from another police agency would violate the tenets of professionalism required of both the state trooper and the county officers.
You put your gun on me! Scumbag! You want to scumbag? You! If you didn't have your uniform on, I'd wipe the street with you, bro. You put your gun on me! Who said please, scumbag? What the do I look like to you? Arrested for 3 of them in the last month. 3 of them in unmarked cars. Arrested police impersonators. So don't come out here rocking a uniform. You're better than anybody. You know who I am. Really? You know who I am. I don't know who you are. My ID. Arrested police impersonators. That's best, bro. Do they have this? Did I see that when I first walked in? But you saw it afterwards, scumbag. What, did I have my gun out after I saw that? Did I throw you out? Arrested police impersonators. That's right. It's a rookie move. It's a rookie move. You know who I am.
The state trooper claims that he demanded Officer Dubois' identification because of the recent string of robberies involving police impersonators. In general, there is no obligation under New Jersey law for an individual to identify themselves to the police, even if the officer has reasonable suspicion to detain them. New Jersey does not have a stop and identify law, and courts have determined that the state's obstruction statute, which is codified in Section 2C 29-1 of the New Jersey Code, does not criminalize an individual's refusal to identify themselves. The statute states that, quote, "A person commits an offense if he purposely obstructs, impairs, or perverts the administration of law or other governmental function, or prevents or attempts to prevent a public servant from lawfully performing an official function by means of flight, intimidation, force, violence, or physical interference or obstacle, or by means of any independently unlawful act." When deciding cases involving this statute, New Jersey courts have consistently determined that individuals cannot be convicted of obstruction unless they take one of the specifically listed physical actions or they engage in a, quote, "independently unlawful act." The Superior Court of the New Jersey Appellate Division held in the 2020 case of Bryant versus Camden County Police Department that an individual could not be convicted under this statute for refusing to show identification to a police officer, explaining that because the interaction was not initiated on the belief that the suspect had violated a traffic law, he had the right to refuse to turn over his identification. The court explained that, quote, "We do not envision a prudent person would believe there was a reasonable basis to arrest Bryant for obstruction for merely not turning over his identification. Bryant committed no unlawful act to impede the investigation. To rule otherwise gives law enforcement, without a reasonable basis, the right to demand that a person provide identification and charge that person under the obstruction statute for not complying." Of course, the situation at hand is much more complicated than an officer stopping a civilian on the street, as this interaction occurred between two officers after one officer had conducted a traffic stop on a citizen, and there's no case law that discusses this unique scenario. However, it is unlikely that a court would conclude that Officer Dubois was legally obligated to identify himself, given the lack of a stop and identify law in New Jersey and the fact that officers typically do not have a legal duty to disclose their identities. That being said, it is certainly possible that a court could conclude that, under the circumstances, the state trooper would have probable cause to arrest Officer Dubois for an offense related to the impersonation of a police officer or carjacking if he refused to provide any evidence that he was actually a police officer, given the fact that he was in plain clothes.
Wait, take a picture of this. Hold on. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, Mr. Tough Guy. Alright. Yeah. You don't know the story, bro. You don't know the story. You got 6 months, you just got out of the academy. Yeah, alright. You just got out of the academy. You see a uniform, that means I got out of the academy? No, because you're out. You don't know the story. I just told you the story, and you're still acting like. What does that mean? I just told you the story. So when your plainclothes guys do that, do we do that to them? Well, listen, when our plain guys are out here working, they let us know. I don't come out to report. Because you're not from here. You don't know about here. Where you from? Morristown? That's right, because I only got 6 months on the job. Because it's an issue now. Now it's an issue. Now it's an issue. First off, I'm not making an issue of it. I work out here. I work out here, all right? Oh, you're not making an issue out here? You come here ranting and raving, telling me to get the out of here. You just do that? I think we just settle this out here. I'm not going to say nothing. You want to pull your boy off? I'm telling you. I tried to explain it to you. We've had 3 police impersonators, cap vests and all. So we're ripping and stripping out here, robbing people. You know what? Carjacking, guns, the whole 9 yards. If you don't believe it, I want my detectives to call you. I want them to personally call you because I'm a rookie and you don't. I don't know what's going on. Let's just calm down. Now, calm down. Because we're not getting anywhere yelling at each other, all right? If that's the case, then you know what? No, I'm lying, bro. I'm lying. I come out here typically and put my gun out on police because that's what I do. That's what they teach us 6 months out of the academy to do. I want them to call you personally because, you know what? Apparently my word's not good enough. So I'm going to leave it as is.
After the incident, State Police Superintendent Colonel Rick Fuentes issued a statement giving his full support to the trooper involved, claiming his actions were, quote, fully justified, given the recent carjackings involving police impersonators. The statement made no mention of Colonel Fuentes' opinion on the trooper's professionalism during the encounter, and it does not appear that any disciplinary action was taken against the trooper for his behavior. Bergen County Police Chief Brian Higgins stated that his department had reviewed the incident and determined that neither the county officers nor the state trooper was at fault. However, Bergen County Executive Kathleen Donovan's Chief of Staff Gene Barada reported that Sergeant Escobar and Officer Dubois did receive some sort of punishment for their actions. She did not release any further details regarding the type of punishment, citing restrictions in the Attorney General's guidelines on internal affairs investigations. Overall, the state trooper gets a C for maintaining an overly aggressive and disrespectful demeanor throughout the encounter, screaming at the Bergen County officers, and repeatedly using profanity and other discourteous language towards his fellow officers. While I understand why the trooper wanted to ensure that Officer Dubois was a legitimate police officer and felt the need to draw his weapon while approaching the scene of a potential carjacking, the trooper's conduct was unnecessarily confrontational from the get-go, and his behavior after he had confirmed Officer Dubois' identity was even worse. officers. Tempers were clearly running high on both sides of this confrontation, but the Bergen County officer's conduct does not excuse the state trooper for his extreme breach of professionalism during this interaction. As the New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice Model Rules and Regulations state, officers should, quote, always remain calm regardless of provocation. And this standard should still apply when the source of the provocation is another officer. The Bergen County officers get a C- for needlessly escalating the situation instead of simply confirming their status as police officers, engaging in over-assertive and disrespectful behavior throughout the interaction, and screaming at the state trooper for an extended period of time. Although it is understandable that Officer Dubois was offended by the state trooper's demands, particularly given the trooper's aggressive demeanor and the fact that he unholstered his firearm, the reality is that he was conducting a traffic stop in plain clothes in an unmarked vehicle, and a reasonable officer should be able to understand the trooper's need to confirm his identity. While traffic stops in unmarked vehicles are sometimes legal in New Jersey, this interaction demonstrates the confusion and fear that these practices can cause, and the lack of professionalism exhibited by all of the officers involved in this situation should not be considered acceptable under any circumstances. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.